You're listening to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. How we doing? How you doing? Indiana Fever are a hot mess. What's going on? Indiana Fever drop one now to the Las Vegas Aces, 89-81, get outscored 31-20 in the fourth quarter. What's going on in Indiana? Stephanie White, overpromise, underdeliver. Caitlin Clark, is she ready to go? Or is she not with the team? And finally, Indiana Fever adjustments. What's really going on? Because no adjustments are being made, and it's getting to the point now teams have easily figured out the Indiana Fever. And you started off, let's talk about it, right? Because you got Caitlin Clark takes a press conference. What does she say? We can play faster. We can play faster. You get Stephanie White, gets to the podium in the post-game press. Somebody give me a stat sheet. Let's talk about the turnovers, right? So you got one end, you got Caitlin Clark saying we can play faster. On the other end, you got Stephanie White saying let's talk about the turnovers. So you want to, what Money Mike calls that, I call that a disconnect, right? And you're starting to see the disconnect where Caitlin is not involved. Caitlin is not its spirit. And Caitlin, as I told you, just from stress, everything going on, the injury is basically breaking down. Folks, tonight, I seen Caitlin Clark at the post-game media almost fall off the chair. Now, putting it in perspective, when I seen athletes do like this, and this may not be the case, I mean, it's almost like Caitlin Clark has sickle cell, right? But I don't know that. I don't have any factual information or anything. But I'm noticing after the games, Caitlin Clark is so drained, and it seems like she's shivering up there. Something's going on. Something's went out of balance here with the Indiana Fever, and I'm really trying to understand it. I seen the heads up going Chelsea Gray. Great ball game. I mean, Las Vegas Aces, I mean, what are you going to do? They chip away till they beat you. But the distractions of the Indiana Fever, and here's what I mean. Last game, Kelly coaches just came. Here comes Stephanie White. Game before that, Kelly coaches, and here comes Stephanie White. So you're getting two different messages. It doesn't matter what you want to say. And an assistant coach, even though the assistant coach does have the thought process, so you saw Teresa Witherspoon, and now you see Sydney Johnson as the head man coaching over there at the Washington Mystics. The Fever, do they want to play faster? Do they want to play differently? Overpromised, underdelivered. Bonner, the reports are coming in that Bonner's checked out, right? You got her to come here. She played for you last year. Whatever disconnect that is, Bonner's checked out, right? And you got players who are going to start checking out even more because everything that's happening with the Indiana Fever, it's not working. Caitlin Clark is not going to be the MVP in this system. I'm going to repeat that to you. Caitlin Clark's not going to be the MVP of the WNBA currently the way the Indiana Fever are playing now. The Indiana Fever are going to get 5 people in the All-Star games and may not even have a winning record, right? Because at the end of the day, Stephanie White, this situation is going to get worse only because there's no accountability, right? I mean, I've been waiting on this for 2 years for a coach to take accountability at the Indiana Fever and say, we didn't get it right, right? So it always comes down, well, she's taking too many long shots, right? Should be taking shots shorter in the range. Everything about Stephanie White trying to change Caitlin Clark, I think Caitlin Clark is going to get sick of it, right? Because to be a Hall of Fame player, you need a coach that's on a Hall of Fame trajectory as well. Because you can have one that's up here and one that's that. And Stephanie White hasn't showed the fans enough. Everybody's starting to complain. This one's going to get worse by the teacup, right? So you got to look at that. And you got Boston, right? Boston's playing their heart out. Boston's in there. You know, you look at Boston tonight, shoots at 12 of 19, right? Gets 20, comes in there, gets 26 points, right? I mean, hustles off, just a -2, you lose by 8, right? And you got Mitchell comes back, gives you 20, you're -4. Now, the big dog of the night, I mean, Caitlin's going to get the award. Caitlin tonight played at a -15. You only lost by 8. All right, so it wasn't Caitlin's night, but I don't know if Caitlin's going to have a good night or a bad night. There's so much emotion stepping over everything around the Indiana Fever. Indiana Fever don't have an identity crisis of who they are, who they want to be, and what they're going to be. And it seems, the adjustments, let's talk about it. Stephanie White's the coach. The adjustments that need to be made just aren't getting made, right? And this is pro. It's not high school. It's not college. Whatever they run, we offset it. Are we prepared? Do we have a game plan? Looks like the Indiana Fever don't go into games with a game plan. Other teams are game planning on them, and that's why they're forcing them into situations that's showing their weakness, right? And so you can get a lead, but you can't sustain it because you can't play consistently. And I think that's going to come through film and adjustments. I don't think the Indiana Fever are film junkies. I really don't. I don't think they're looking at it. I mean, you got to look at the Atlanta Dream. Atlanta Dream, bottom of the barrel, come back, what are they, 10-3, 10-4. I mean, the coach is coaching them through victories. They won another big ball game. At some point, you're going to have to come to realization, right, that this whole thing that the Indiana Fever put together, it's not working, it's going to blow up, right? It's basically imploding right in front of your eyes, and when that happens, there's not enough you can do. And so you got Stephanie White, who feels Caitlin Clark is out of control. So let's talk about all these turnovers. She's getting 8-10 turnovers a game. Then back-to-back shooting, not shooting it very well. So this thing here is starting to be a finger-pointing event, right? A finger-pointing event, and, now the Indiana Fever got to do what they call damage control, right? Because you lose 89-81. Here's how it all broke down. I mean, you play them even in the first quarter, it's 20-21. You come back, you got the second quarter, you win that too. It's 21-16. Now in the third, you start running flat, and then here's what the Fever are doing consistently now in the fourth. They're just falling out of contention. So you go 31-20, they outscored you in the fourth, right? And you look at that and you say, well, what really happened? I can tell you the Fever shot 26% from the three-point line. And, they came in there against a team, shot 45%. They didn't shoot it much better. 30% from the three-point line. But I guess this is the deal. Here's the softness of the Indiana Fever. Because we've been talking about who's soft, who's not soft. Let's talk about that. The Fever gave up 21 free throws tonight. Okay, that's what Las Vegas Aces earned. You go to the Fever, they're only 7-9. Folks, you're getting to the free throw line 9 times a game. That's a lot of settling going on there in that offense, and it's not getting where it's being able to produce. Now, the Indiana Fever have reached this stage. You've seen Stephanie White, what's going to happen with her. We've seen Caitlin Clark be injured, and now Caitlin has come back, and we're starting to see the results where she had a great game against the Liberty, and now it just seems like something's off with Caitlin. Everybody's starting to notice it, and when you got a Ferrari that can't run, okay, as well as the Ferrari needs to run, then you got to shut the Ferrari down and figure out what's going on with Caitlin. But you can't do that because now if you shut Caitlin down, you have no chance of winning at all. So this thing is getting worse by the minute. Stephanie White, overpromise, underdeliver. Indiana Fever play good basketball in the first half. Then Las Vegas chips away, keeps chipping away until they finally get that lead back and they take it back from you. They win the ball game. Then you come into the press conference. Somebody throw me a stat sheet. Let's talk about turnovers. Caitlin comes, let's go in there, let's talk about how we can play faster. You have two individuals that aren't seeing eye to eye, and eventually they're going to have to either see that way or this tenure is going to be cut short. This is not what anybody expected out the Indiana Fever. It can't even give a game report because now the consistency and what's going on with the Fever just not there. You want to take a look at the bench points at what happened, and, you get the entire bench. Everybody that came off the bench, nobody shoots any free throws. That's what's making the Fever a soft team. They can't get to the line, right? Lexie Hull doesn't get to the free throw line, right? Natasha Howard doesn't get to the free throw line. You're expected to go to free throw lines. People that play the game as physical and tough, they're going to get there every night because that's part of their game. Fever are soft. Stephanie White, game plan. Stephanie White, over promise, under deliver. Caitlin Clark, we want to play faster. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio podcast. Let the story develop as the season over. I'm not going to say that. It's the season in turmoil. I will say that only because you're starting to see a disconnect. Stephanie White's in and out. Here we go again. Now Bonner's out, and who's going to be the next player? Dante's leaving. So the whole thing's falling apart. How you bring it back together, piece by piece, man, Kelsey Mitchell, told everybody they need to play harder, need to play faster, need to play stronger, need to be tougher. Did they do that? No. So now what do you got? You got a team that's supposed to be a tough, battling team that doesn't want to battle. They're willing to settle for the loss. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. This story will keep developing throughout the week because it's not done. But I will tell you this, all things are possible to those who believe. Prayers up to those family members who are dealing with whatever is going on with the Indiana Fever and others as well on the Las Vegas Aces or the entire WNBA. I don't know where this one's going to end, but I know it's off to a bad start. And I know the fact that now, okay, I've seen enough, right? I've seen enough from the Indiana Fever 13 games to know what Stephanie White's coaching's all about. And I understand what the team is all about. And I can tell you this, it's an overpromise and an underdeliver. We want to thank you for tuning in to the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. We'll always tell you it's my opinion, but if it turns to truth, I've given you the facts before it's happened. Indiana Fever are headed downhill on a greasy slide, and it's going to be tough to turn around. It's not going to be something you can do in a day because everybody's not bought into the system. Everybody hasn't bought into Stephanie White, and Stephanie White hasn't bought into the players on the Indiana Fever. That's a tough combination to bring together because if you notice, the Valkyries, they play together, Valkyries. You got the Dream, they play together. Everybody's out there playing as a team. Indiana Fever are playing as individuals. That won't win championships. That'll cost you a lot of games. This is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. All things are possible to those who believe, and we will see you soon.